On December 6, Path of Exile 2 released into early access, and we immediately jumped in, or rather joined the queues, to deliver you some first impressions of the game's co-op gameplay. Today, we will talk about how couch co-op and online co-op works, and how to set it up. We will show you the early game experience as well as an outlook on the endgame. Then, we will wrap things up with our personal thoughts to help you decide if you should jump right in or wait until the full release.
But first, let's talk about the price tag and its relation to playing in co-op. Path of Exile 2 will be free to play on its full release, but an early access key will cost you money, one way or another. You either have to have a spending history of almost $500 in Path of Exile 1, or buy one of the supporter packs that cost at least $30 each. Now, playing in co-op does not necessarily mean that you have to spend $30 for each one of you, if you're willing to make a compromise.
You can play in either normal online co-op on different accounts or in local couch co-op. So if you're planning to play as a duo in local co-op, having one account will be sufficient. The second player can create their character on the host's account or select one of the host's already existing characters. This has a neat little side effect. Since all characters technically belong to the host, you also have access to everything the host has unlocked from the cash shop on all of them. If you have your own account, you can log into that one as well and have access to your own roster of characters while still playing local couch co-op. But this only works on consoles. As we only have Path of Exile 2 on PC for now, the console footage is from the developers themselves.
Now for the visual presentation. The local co-op is not split screen, but you still share one screen, even on PC, as there is currently no Steam Remote Play. The character of the first player determines where the screen will go. If player 2's character is about to fall out of it, they will be dragged along like on an invisible leash. This also holds true if player 2 is currently in a menu. Talking of menus, while outside of the town, opening the menu with both characters will pause the game. You can also full screen your menu, which disables the other player's controls completely, until you're done.
So you might be wondering how to set couch co-op up. On consoles, it's pretty clear. You need 2 controllers. But that's also true for PC, as playing on keyboard simultaneously might be cuddly but isn't possible. You can choose whatever controller you like. PlayStation and Xbox both work fine. Wired or wireless also doesn't matter. As soon as you're in the character screen, just press the Show and Confirm button on both controllers and 2 character selections will pop up. Choose from there and log in. Just beware, if you're new to playing with controllers, playing the game could get a little bit tricky for you at the beginning, as there are quite some UI shortcuts to get familiar with. Talking of UI, be aware that the UI scales down quite a bit when playing couch co-op. So keep that in mind when playing on smaller screens, as the elements could be difficult to make out.
So we talked about couch co-op a lot, but of course your party is not limited to just 2 players. You can build teams of up to 6 players in total. To do this, enter the social menu and invite more friends into your group. Alternatively, you can create public parties and let other players join you or join them yourself. Most of the social features only get available after playing through a short tutorial and reaching the first town, which will take you about 5 minutes. While on maps outside of the town, you will only encounter the players that are currently in your party, while inside of the town you can see other players as well. You might be wondering whether you can play with your friends on other platforms, and the answer is yes. Path of Exile 2 offers full crossplay support, so it doesn't matter if you're on PC, PlayStation or the Xboxes.
So how is the game different when playing in co-op? Difficulty-wise, your group size is a deciding factor for the gameplay, aside from the obvious difficulty setting you're playing the game in. While you might think that more players decrease the difficulty, the opposite is in fact the case, at least from an individual standpoint. For each additional player aside from the party leader, enemies get a 50% increase to their base health. While loot and EXP also increase, you still get less EXP for one kill in a party than you would have gotten solo. You also only get experience when in proximity to the kill, roughly 2 screens of distance. On the contrary, monsters are getting stronger no matter where your party members are, as long as they are on the same map, so keep that in mind. Lastly, potions only regenerate for the player landing a killing blow, which might get you into a tight spot when your HP is low and you can't land that hit.
With all that out of the way, you're ready for your first challenge: picking a class. In early access you can choose between 6 character classes, which are all gender locked. You have the warrior, sorceress, ranger, monk, Mercenary and Witch. Each of those has 2 Ascendancy classes for now. Those are kind of specializations to further customize your preferred playstyle. As an example, the Witch can choose to become either an Infernalist, commanding a Hellhound and shapeshifting into a demon form, or a Blood Mage sacrificing life for offensive and defensive magic. Further base classes will be added later, as well as a third Ascendancy class for each one of them on full release.
So after choosing your classes and logging in, you can immediately begin your adventure together when playing couch co-op. When playing online co-op, you could find yourself in a phasing, as long as the tutorial isn't finished by everyone, so keep that in mind. After you made it out of the short introductory quest, you will find yourself in the first player hub. From here, you can take on more story quests and venture out to explore. One thing to mention is that if you are progressed to a different point in the story, the lesser progressed characters cannot access the areas of the ones that are already further advanced. However, questing and progressing together works very well, as quests and dialogues are displayed to both when playing couch co-op. If you are playing online co-op, those only show to the one talking to the NPC, so everyone has to do this on their own. This can be a great plus, as not everyone enjoys stories the same way, likes to listen or read. After that, the quest progression outside of dialogues is shared again. So, aside from questing and fighting together, what other interactions are possible?
You can trade items with each other at any point in time to help gearing the other up. This is especially helpful if one of you can't resist the urge to instantly gobbling up all the loot. Who would do that? If one of you goes down in fight, you can resurrect them, if you get the chance. You can also create town portals that your party members can use to teleport to you. We also have the hideout system again, a form of player housing, which can be visited by others as well. Communication-wise, there are no emotes or voice chat, so you will have to rely on the text chat or external tools for coordination. Obviously, you will only need this if you are playing online.
We chose to progress in online co-op. The main quest progression works as we described before. The game's early and main gameplay loop plays out as you would expect for this genre. Slay monster hordes, level up, unlock more powerful skills and progress in your little skill tree. Monsters drop level-specific gear and gems in different rarities with different random modifiers, which you can further improve using special items. This transfers over all the way into endgame, just with increased difficulty and variety. So you might wonder what works well and what doesn't.
We enjoyed our first few hours of gameplay a lot. The music and sound design captures the tense and dark atmosphere of Wraeclast, and so does the level design, the creatures living in them, and the smaller and bigger bosses. Even on normal difficulty, it feels challenging but not overwhelming. You have to keep an eye on your resources, your positioning, and the attack patterns of the enemies. But it's never on a Souls-like level, for now. The loot aspect is a great plus of ARPGs, and seeing the pile of gold and equipment ripple out of bosses is satisfying. NPCs involved in the main stories are fully voiced and do a great job. A highlight for us were the boss designs, like the poison-spewing worm burrowing its head and body in the cave. So what didn't work well?
We didn't find much. A bit of hindrance is the strong collision you have with your party members. You can easily trap one another in tight spaces, which can even lead to deaths. The dodge roll only helps a little, as they are not completely collision-free either, so positioning is very important. A bit finicky as well is the auto-targeting when playing with controllers. It seemed to kind of have its own free will at times.
Once you're finished with the story, there's a big variety of endgame activities. However, these unlock only after you hit the level cap of 65, and there is a catch. On full release, there will be 6 acts, rewarding you exactly the experience needed to hit that max level. However, in early access there are only 3 acts, which means you have to play through the story a second time on Cruel, a higher difficulty. This will take you roughly 40 hours in total, if you don't sweat it. After hitting the required level, you get access to the endgame activities, which take place within your Atlas of Worlds and infinite endgame system of maps. You can craft and progress these maps and thus stumble upon different activities like various trials, breaches, expeditions, rituals and more. These can all be played in co-op and everyone gets rewards for doing them. However, the Atlas is only progressed for the one that supplied it.
Aside from the planned 12 characters with 3 ascendancies each and another 3 story acts, there's even more to come for Path of Exile's 2 full release, including extended endgame with over 100 different bosses, maps and more. In Path of Exile, there are leagues, a kind of season system which we expect to see again here. Right now, we didn't have much info on that yet, aside from that leaks on PoE 2 will probably be more like additional content that is being rolled out over time, which becomes part of the core game, instead of how seasons work in Diablo, for example.
Since the game just released, you might be wondering about the server stability and other technical aspects. After the initial server and database issues, which have been resolved rather quickly and very transparently by the amazing backend team of Grinding Gears, we didn't have any further issues regarding logging in or staying online. But now to our personal highlights. I really loved how neatly the couch co-op worked. It's well designed and lets you share the experience with anyone right on the spot without difficult setup or extra purchases.
I love the dark and dreadful atmosphere, with the sound and music design matching that vibe perfectly. At first glance, I am quite overwhelmed by the extreme freedom of choice, as in the skill tree for example, but I will adjust, don't worry.
So, we made it clear that we liked it, but will you? You might want to consider picking it up if you enjoy ARPGs, dark game worlds, character progression and loot in abundance. It's suited for casual players as well as hardcore veterans. Grinding Gears did a great job easing the entry barrier quite a bit for new players, while keeping up the difficulty and challenge for veterans. On the contrary, it might probably not be for you if you dislike repeating the main story or grind it out just to hit the endgame, or if you aren't a fan of paying for a product that will eventually be free.
Considering the price, if you're wondering price for value right now, we would say it's a great deal. For $30 you will get around 50 to 100 hours of game time out of early access alone, with more coming up at full launch. For that price, you also get 300 credits for the in-game shop, free to spend on something you want or need, which is the equivalent to paying $30. The developers mentioned that they want to keep the early access phase for at least 6 months. So, if you're itching to play right now, we hope that our video gave you some valuable insights to help you decide if you'd rather wait that long or buy into one of the supporter packs now. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you will enjoy being in exile together with your favorite people. See you next time!